Hello everyone, back to you in today's second video. We've already done the 5-day forecast. You can find the video tab here on the home page. Just scroll down the page a little bit and it's above the stow desk. And there's also a written version. You can get that from buttons at the top of the page. It's going to be a very transitional 5-day period because we're starting off storming, still with the effects of last night's severe gales. But we are going to find that weather settles down over the next 5 days. But it will also start to get a lot colder, and it really will feel quite bitter, I think, by the end of the weekend and into the start of next week. That's where we finish with the 5-day forecast, and today's second video will extend out beyond the 5-day forecast period. We will go to the 7 to 10 day time frame, which is going to take us to around the 13th of January. So we go towards the middle part of the month with today's second video. Still the split between the two models, the two main models, the GFS, the ECMWF. We talked about this in the video yesterday. The ECMWF wanted to bring a bitterly cold spell of weather through the course of next week, perhaps a bit of a big freeze even. And it's still going for that today, but the GFS still much less convinced about it. So it's a case of the GFS versus the ECMWF. Let battle commence, and we'll see what both of the models are showing. Right now, we're going to begin by having a look at the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation. Just to say, I'm still using the new webcam. I've got a new Logitech webcam that I installed yesterday. I'm running the feed now through my old Avacam application. So you're watching the picture of me through the webcam via the Avacam application. It's a smaller box, not as bulky. I thought the box that we used yesterday, but comes actually with the Logitech cam itself, was a little bit bulky, a little bit too big. So I managed to get the stream going through the Avacam application. And let me know what you think, which you prefer, whether you prefer yesterday's larger box or today's smaller box, and we'll see which one we're going to use as we go for. So use the comment box or the comment section of YouTube. Let me know what you think. Right, we'll begin by having a look at the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. So the black line here is telling us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. The red line's at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting Arctic Oscillation go. Remember, this is just an index that's reflective of the state of the atmosphere. It's not driving anything. It just tells you what the atmosphere is doing over the North Pole. When the Arctic Oscillation is positive, it tells you that you've got low pressure up over the pole, and consequently you will be keeping the cold air bottled up generally over the North Pole. Sometimes, though, with positive AO, you can get cold down to Canada and North America. But for the UK and Europe, typically when you have a positive Arctic Oscillation, will generally be mild with a strengthening of the westerlies. And when you get a negative Arctic Oscillation, you've got high pressure up over the pole, tend to have blocking, and blocking is a route pushing cold out of the pole down into the mid-latitudes. So where we are right now is actually very close to neutral with the Arctic Oscillation, and we're going to be going negative with the AO in the next week or so. So this is a suggestion that we're going to try and build high pressure up over Scandinavia and possibly back up towards the North Pole. As we head towards the middle part of January, and that's this period just here, we find many members of the GFS ensembles are going positive with the AO then. So it looks like this period of negativity of the AO that we've got coming up in the next few days isn't probably going to last all that long, and the general trend towards mid-January is actually turn the Arctic Oscillation positive. It's even more the case for the North Atlantic Oscillation. So again, same idea, the black line tells us where we've been with the NEO, the red line's at the end, where the NEO is being forecast to go by the GFS ensembles. This time, it's an index that's reflective of the state of the North Atlantic, as opposed to the North Pole, which you can see with the Arctic Oscillation. So that's where we are right now with the NEO. We are firmly in positive territory. We're going down towards neutral as we get through the next week or so. So again, that's suggesting that we're going to build this high pressure up over Scandinavia for a little while. But look where the GFS ensembles are taking the NEO towards the middle part of January. We're going very, very positive with the NEO then lifting up into very positive territory. Now, if you want a sustained cold period, it's going to be very, very difficult to get sustained cold weather with the NEO going as positive as that. It does suggest that we are likely to be reverted to a strong westerly flow, I would have thought, strengthening the high pressure around around Iceland, strengthening the high pressure around the Azores, and the low pressure around Iceland, which will strengthen the westerly winds. So this is all based on the GFS, though. The GFS is not at all set on an extended period of cold weather, and I'll show you the charts from the GFS in a moment, but the GFS really doesn't want to go for much in the way of cold weather, except over the weekend, just into the start of next week. If we could see an NAO or an AO ensemble based on the ECMWF, I suspect it would look very significantly different to what that is showing. So really what these indexes are reflecting, what they're telling us, is that the GFS model and its ensemble want to bring westerlies back very quickly through the course of next week and just get rid of the chance of cold weather beyond sort of Monday, perhaps through the course of next week. Beyond that, really wants to turn winds back into the west. And I will show you that GFS run in a moment. This is the central temperature from Hadley, updated just to the 2nd of January yesterday. So far been a very mild start to January. We're standing at 6.4 degrees, an anomaly nearly 3 degrees above average. Expect that to move downwards quite a lot over the weekend and into the start of next week. 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts from the Penn State University website for the next 7 to 10 days are looking like this. We've got the ECM Vs on the top, the GFS, we'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. So this is going to show very clearly the split between the two models. This is the ECMWF, and you see we've got this huge area of red sitting to the north and the northeast of the British Isles, a large blocking area of high pressure there. Then we've got the low average pressure, low pressure, below than average heights to our south across France, Spain and Portugal. And so the upshot is that we would be bringing the wind in like that. A proper easterly wind would be pushing across not just the UK but many northern parts of Europe as well. If we could see an Arctic or North Atlantic oscillation index chart based on that, they would both be in very negative territory. Whereas this is the GFS, and you would look at it and think there's not all that much difference. So we do still have that red area up to the north. Then we've got this area below average heights to our southwest. We've got this strong ridge through the central Atlantic, and we've also got a deep trough still in the east of America. But GFS wants to keep the American freeze going up to the middle of January, which means that the flow of the jet stream is more westerly, much more westerly, actually, rather like that. So it's a very subtle difference, really, but it is a difference between bringing in easterlies, such as we would do with the ECMWF scenario, and having wind generally coming from the west, albeit the jet stream is to the little bit to our south. So it's not exactly very mild, but it is a lot milder on this scenario compared to what the ECMWF is showing. All I'd say about this is that this area of above average heights that we have to our north, to our northeast, is being strengthened by the GFS. So it does appear that run by run, the GFS is very, very slowly starting to inch towards the ECMWF rather than the other way round. But I think really it's too close to call. And certainly from the GFS ensembles, I would like to see the GFS ensembles starting to reflect a little bit more what the ECMWF is doing. It's a very strange period, this, to have such a stark difference between the two models. So these are the GFS temperature precipitation ensembles, and they're not really showing anything particularly cold over the next couple of weeks. So we're starting here around average. The red line is the 30-year temperature average. Now, you don't get this colder period at the end of the week into weekend. That's that period just there. But you notice very quickly the GFS is lifting the temperatures back up through the early part of next week. And then we just keep the temperatures very close to the 30-year temperature average. Now, there are some cold outliers. That one in particular would be bringing in a bitterly cold easterly feed as we're running up towards the middle part of January. But it's an outlier. It's not particularly well supported. And I suppose this gold browny colour ensemble member just there will probably be bringing in bitterly cold easterlies a little bit later on, just after mid-month. But those are outliers. They're a long way out. They're not well supported. And really, this period just here is the main interest period at the moment, because that is when the ECMWF and the GM are both bringing in very cold easterly winds. And the GFS model, with its operational runs and ensembles, just not really all that interested in bringing in anything particularly cold from the east through that second week of January. So it is a very, very strange period, this, the difference between the GFS and its ensembles and the ECMWF as well. So temperature anomalies for next week from the 3rd to the 11th of January looking like that, with colder than average for the north, still a little bit milder than average down in the south. Precipitation anomalies from the 3rd to 11th of January looking close to average, maybe going a little bit on the drier than average side, if anything, particularly for northern and eastern parts of the country. Right, the all-important model runs then. So this is the GFS for Saturday. Now, we do get that initial push of cold air even with the GFS. So by Saturday, we're starting to go into that northeasterly wind. That's going to be a cold wind. It will feed wintry showers into the north and to the east as well. That's how things look on Sunday. High pressure is in control. The winds are coming in from the east, so it would be cold, or it will be cold. It is going to be a cold weekend, no doubt about that. There's a hard night frost and maybe a few slow flurries around southern and eastern coasts as well. That's Monday, and still the GFS keeps the wind in from the east at that point. So yes, the cold weather continues. Probably doesn't look all that cold from the synoptic chart, but if we could have a look at the dew point, which I won't show you, but if we could look at the dew point, it would show that it's really cold, dry continental air that we're bringing in from Germany. So it would be, or it will be feeling bitterly cold by the start of next week. But then we go up to Tuesday, and very quickly again, that high pressure beginning to recede back into the northeast of Europe. Low pressure started to move in from off the Atlantic, and through the course of next week, we gradually inch these areas of low pressure closer towards us. This takes us to Thursday, the 11th of January, when we've got low pressure to our north and to our southwest, still keeping relatively high heights, however, across Scandinavia, and extending back into western parts of Russia. So as they very gradually, run by run, it does seem that the ECMWF is beginning to inch towards the ECMWF scenario. It isn't there yet, but it looks like very gradually, at least operational runs of the GFS are beginning to inch towards the ECM. Nevertheless, by the end of next week, it's not particularly cold, and we're bringing in high pressure from the southwest as we run up towards day 10. This takes us to day 10, which is Saturday, 13th of January, when we're under a ridge from the Atlantic. So this is relatively mild air that's coming in. Certainly no easterly feed. I suppose there could be frost and fog under that ridge, but it's not a bitter sort of easterly episode outbreak like we see with the ECMWF up to day 10. So this is the ECMWF run. This is the latest from this morning, the midnight run. It will be updated in a few hours' time for the midday run. This is what it was showing at midnight. So get this cold push of air coming down across the country through the weekend. There's the wind going into the northeast. That high pressure sits around the country to Monday, keeping this bitterly cold feed of air coming in from the east. Now, by Tuesday, this is the changeover day when the two models start to diverge. So the GFS at this point on Tuesday is already starting to encroach the Atlantic in. The ECMWF has that high pressure centred over southern Norway, and so we're still bringing the winds in from an easterly direction. And then you see the big difference by Wednesday. The winds are still firmly coming in from the east. The high pressure at 1035 millibars is sitting over Scandinavia. It's a cold easterly wind that we're feeding in. And then look at the difference by Thursday, just beyond sort of day 7, we find that we're still bringing in this bitter cold easterly wind. At this point, the GFS is firmly breaking things down, but the ECM wants to maintain that easterly wind. If you follow the ice bars back, the easterly is coming from western parts of Russia, so it's coming from a long way east. It's a proper easterly wind that we have there, and this continues as we run up towards day 10. This is Friday 12th of January, still keeping those easterly winds going, and that's how things look on day 10, which is Saturday the 13th of January. The high pressure is still maintained just to the north of Scotland and back towards Scandinavia. We still are, even then, at day 10, feeling in those easterly winds. That's around a week, maybe more, of very cold weather that the ECMWF is going for. There's the upper air temperatures on day 10. And you see it is very cold air that we're feeding in from the east with the -10 ice firm across England and Wales. That would certainly be enough to be bringing snow showers, I would have thought, to many parts of the country through the course of next week. Now, the ECMWF is not without support. The GEM, the Canadian model, is also supporting the ECM scenario. So this is how the GEM is looking on Saturday as we introduce those cold northerly winds, and then we keep things cold into the start of next week as well. That's Monday, and it looks like on Monday it's beginning to move towards the GFS solution. But look what it does through Tuesday and Wednesday. It takes that high pressure back north to Scandinavia. So we just keep those bitterly cold easterly winds going. In fact, they will be turning colder through the course next week. Cold and colder air will be moving in from the east. So by the middle of next week, if this was right, we'd be seeing daytime temperatures staying around or below freezing all day across most parts of the country. And it just keeps those easterly winds going through into the second half of next week as well. There's the upper air temperatures for Thursday, for example. Look how cold it is across many central and eastern parts of Europe. And those easterly winds are bringing in that very cold air. That's Friday's upper air temperatures, where we've got the -10 ice firm across many parts of England and Wales. That's sub-zero temperatures by both day and by night as well. And these east winds will probably be bringing snow showers in from off the North Sea as well. We're going up towards day 10, still with the easterly wind being maintained, and that takes us to day 10, which is Saturday the 13th of January, and those easterly winds are still in. And it would still be really quite cold even at this point. Let's just have a look at the upper air temperatures on day 10. There they are. And it's still really cold, actually, across many parts of England and Wales in particular. It's turning a bit milder across Germany, you'll notice, with these upper air temperatures. Those milder upper air temperatures will be trying to feed in to this cold air that we have up here, and that could form an area of low pressure. We could run out another day. You'd probably find the difference in the temperature in the upper air will form an area of low pressure somewhere close to East Anglia or South East England, which could be a real snowmaker if that was to come off. So it's all really confusing. The GFS is not interested, and its ensembles are not interested in cold weather really beyond around Tuesday. It wants to bring milder conditions back in from off the Atlantic, albeit very slowly, very gradually. The GFS does appear to be inching towards the ECM solution. Now, the ECM is much, much colder. It would be proper freezing weather that we have next week if the ECM is right. It would be bitterly cold. It would be cold enough for snow. The only question is whether we've got enough moisture in the atmosphere, I think, as we go through the week. And the upper air temperature get colder, the threat of snow, showers anyway, would increase through the course of next week. And the ECMWF is supported by the GEM as well. So quite where this is going to go, I think we're going to wait another day or so to see. One of these models, before very much longer, is going to have to back down. And it's going to be very interesting to see which model does back down. If you want cold weather and snow, the only word of caution I'd add, whilst we do tend to rate the ECMWF as the best model overall, and that's the one that's going for really cold weather, of course, we do rate it generally overall as the best model, but, excuse me, we did see last winter, very occasionally, it happened around 2 or 3 times, I think, last winter, it went for easterlies that didn't necessarily materialise. We came very close to them. We did get a brief period of easterly winds at the end of January last winter and also in the early part of February, but they only lasted a day or two. Then very quickly they went away. And it might be that the ECMWF is doing that again this time. So I would have in that word of caution that this may, in the end, finish up something like a blend between the two models, actually, between the ECM and the GFS. If that happens, I suspect what would happen is that we would be really cold next week, but mostly dry, and we wouldn't get that long fetch easterly from sort of the Urals. What we'd actually get is just a continental feed from the Low Countries or Germany. It'd be frosty and it'd be cold, but it wouldn't necessarily be particularly wintry. So, more runs needed, and I'll be keeping you updated on this over the next few days. Of course, it's a fascinating period of weather, so keep checking back for all the twists and turns, and undoubtedly, we'll be on the way. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.